If you constantly feel the need to check, correct, follow up, remind, adjust, you're not leading, you're supervising survival. And most managers who micromanage don't mean to. They actually say, I don't want to be a micromanager. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Micromanagement is rarely about control. It's about missing structure. Hi, I'm Vessela, Global Executive Leader, Coach and Trainer. Welcome to Leadership Bites, your weekly dose for practical leadership insights. Today, let's unpack micromanagement and how to structure your team so you don't fall into it. Stay with me because one small shift can completely change how you lead. Why micromanagement happens? Most micromanagement does not start with ego. It starts with unclear expectations, low trust, pressure from above, fear of failure. You check because you're unsure. You step in because you don't see clarity. You redo work because it's faster. But here is what happens. The more you control, the less ownership your team takes. And then you feel you have to control even more. And that's a cycle. So how do you break it? Not by trying harder to micromanage or not to micromanage, but by building structure. Here is a practical tip. Define outcomes, not steps. Micromanagers often give tasks like this. Send this email like this, or prepare the slides like I usually do that. Call them and say this exactly. Instead, define the outcome. For example, instead of create this presentation and use this structure, you may try to say, the goal of this presentation is to structure alignment from the leadership team. We need clarity on budget, risks, and timeline. You choose the structure, but the outcome must be alignment. You move from control of method to clarity of result. That alone reduces 50% of micromanagement. Agree on checkpoints. Don't randomly check. Micromanagement feels invasive because it's unpredictable. You walk by, you ask for updates, you jump into details. Instead, agree up front. Let's review progress on Thursday at 2 p.m. Or send me a draft before it goes out. Let's align midway. Now you're not interfering, but you're following a shared structure. I once worked with a manager who reviewed every email before it was sent. The team felt suffocated. We changed one thing. He reviewed only high-impact client emails and set a 15 minutes daily alignment shift. Micromanagement dropped, confidence increased, and he left calmer. Like this, we also created a structure of trust. Clarify what good looks like. Micromanagement often hides behind one sentence. This is not what I expected. But if expectations were never defined, your team is guessing. So instead of correcting constantly, start by saying, here is what good looks like. For example, good looks like clearly summarizing in 3 bullet points, risks identification, recommendation included. Now your team has the direction and you don't have to step into later, but rather you clarify and the control follows after that. And here is something most people won't say. Sometimes micromanagement is not about the team. It's about the identity. If your value comes from being the expert, it's hard to let go. But leadership is not about being the best doer. It's about building capability around yourself. If your team can't function without you, that's not strength. That is dependency. If you want to stop micromanaging, build these 3 systems. Define outcomes, agree on checkpoints in advance, and define what good looks like. When structure increases, control naturally decreases. You will feel less anxious and your team will feel more empowered because performance will rise internally and naturally. Micromanagement is rarely a personality flaw. It's a structure problem. Fix the structure and your leadership becomes lighter. If this resonated, subscribe for practical leadership insights. And in the next video, I will talk about how leaders lose presence without realizing. If you